Welcome to Millennium Daytime Bulletin. I'm Shweta Simar from New Delhi and you're watching Millennium News Channel 24. Today I'm bringing you the latest news from around the world. Let's begin with today's top headlines. Vandals attack Jewish area in Sydney in latest anti-Semitic attack. Israel strikes Syria 480 times and seizes territory as Netanyahu pledges to change the face of Middle East. South Korea ex-minister linked to martial law move attempts to take his life. Israel attacks on Gaza residential areas, killing at least 29 people. Biden says he'll veto bill that would let Trump nominate more judges. A mass animal sacrifice festival is underway in Nepal. Activists say it needs to stop. Thousands of regime prisoners are free, but many Syrians are still in search for loved ones. Mixed performance across global markets amid economic concerns. Rook replaces Root as world's #1 test batter. Sutherland leads Australia to ODI clean sweep versus India. Now let's look at the details. Vandals attacked a Jewish area of Sydney overnight, torching a stolen car and scrawling anti-Semitic words on walls, prompting a swift response from authorities who say anti-Semitism has no place in multicultural Australia. The attack in the eastern suburb of Woollera comes as police search for 3 suspects over an arson attack on the Adas Israel synagogue in Melbourne on Friday and follows other anti-Semitic attack by vandals in Sydney. The spate of attacks has prompted authorities to set up a special task force, Operation Avalite, to tackle anti-Semitism and increase patrols of Jewish sites including schools and synagogues. Speaking Wednesday alongside the New South Wales Police Commissioner and Jewish community leaders, State Premier Chris Minns said a latest vandalism was a deliberate attack designed to put fear into the hearts of people that live in Sydney's east. He said he'd spoken to Israel's ambassador to Australia, Amir Maimon, on Wednesday and assured him that authorities took the matter very seriously. I made it very clear to him that we regarded this as a disgusting display of anti-Semitism and that the vast majority of people that live in New South Wales are horrified by it and recognize Israel as an ally and friend of Australia, Minns said. Maimon also took social media platform X to condemn the attack. The rising tide of anti-Semitism must end now, he said. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the attack had no place in Australia. Australians want to live peacefully side by side and Australian rejects the abhorrent criminal behavior, he told Millennium News Channel. This is not a political act. This does not change anything that is occurring on the ground in the Middle East. This is an attack against the fellow Australians. The collapse of Assad regime has prompted a punishing military response from Israel, which has launched airstrikes at military targets across Syria and deployed ground troops both into beyond a demilitarized buffer zone for the first time in 50 years. The Israeli military on Tuesday said it had carried out almost 480 strikes across the country over the past 2 days, hitting most of Syria's strategic weapon stockpiles, while Defense Minister Israel Katz said that the Israeli Navy had destroyed the Syrian fleet overnight. hailing the operation as a great success. Just a day earlier, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had hailed the collapse of Bashar al-Assad's regime as a new and dramatic chapter. The collapse of Syrian regime is a direct result of the severe blow with which we have struck Hamas, Hezbollah and Iran. He said during a rare press conference on Monday, the axis has not yet disappeared, but as I promised, we are changing the face of the Middle East. Israeli officials have revealed that in a downfall of Assad, a staunch ally of Iran who allowed his country to be used as a resupply route for Hezbollah in Lebanon, but they also fear that he could come from a radical Islamist governing Syria, which borders Israel's occupied Golan Heights. Foreign Minister Gideon Saar told journalists on Monday that Israel was bombing Syrian military facilities, housing chemical weapons stocks and long-range missiles to prevent them from falling into the hands of extremists. With regards to what will be in the future, I am not a prophet, he said. It is important right now to take all necessary steps in the context of the security of Israel. A CNN team in Damascus heard loud expressions and explosions throughout the early hours on Tuesday, a continuation of strikes that began over the weekend. Voice of the Capital, a Syrian activist group, said the overnight bombing campaign was the most violent in Damascus in 15 years. Out of 480 strikes carried out by the Israeli Air Force, about 350 were manned aircraft strikes targeting airfields, anti-aircraft batteries, missiles, drones, fighter jets, tanks and weapons production sites in Damascus, Homs, Tartus, Latakia and Palmyra, the Israel Defense Force said. The rest of the strikes were in support of ground operations that targeted weapon depot, military structures, launchers and firing positions. IDF also said its ship struck two Syrian naval facilities where 15 vessels were docked. Dozens of sea-to-sea missiles were said to have been destroyed. South Korean former Defense Minister Kim Jong-un, who claimed full responsibility for the president's failed attempt to place the country under martial law last week, has tried to take his own life, an official said. Authorities found him while making the attempt in his detention center on Tuesday night. Shin Young-hae, the Justice Ministry Correctional Agency chief, told lawmakers. In the wake of Yoon's shock martial law order, Kim resigned last week along with other top presidential staff. He had been detained on Sunday for investigation before he was formally arrested on insurrection charges. Kim was in stable condition following the attempt, Shin said. Kim is amongst top officials who are facing investigations for their role in Yoon's short-lived martial law order, which has sparked widespread fury in South Korea. Tens of thousands of people have taken in on the streets calling for the president's resignation for impeachment. Yoon is also being investigated for alleged insurrection. While he apologized for the martial law declaration, he has not accepted growing calls for him to step down. Kim, who was named defense minister in September, said he apologized deeply in a statement on Tuesday and said, "All responsibility for this situation lies solely with me." Israeli attacks on the north and center of the besieged Gaza Strip have killed dozens of people, medical sources say. The Israeli army in the early hours of Wednesday bombed a residential building in the Beit Lahia near Kamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza, which have been under an even tighter siege for more than 2 months. The attack killed at least 20 people, including women and children, but there were fears the death toll could rise. Local media reports said at least 30 displaced people were living in the multi-story home of the Abu Tarabish family before it was struck. Footage seen by Al Jazeera showed people using their bare hands trying to remove large pieces of concrete from the ruins of bombed structure. One child's body was removed from the rubble. This residential building has been turned into ruin. The smoke is still rising, said journalist Moth. Reporting from the site, due to shortages of rescue teams, the neighbors are trying to pull the dead bodies from under the rubble. Later in the day, another attack on residential home in the densely populated Nusairat refugee camp killed at least 7 people, all members of the same family. The Palestinian Civil Emergency Services said another 2 people were killed by an Israeli air raid on a house in Gaza City. There have been no basic supplies available, markets are depleted, and crisis keeps continuing to evolve in a devastating way. He's added, all the while there is no let up in Israeli bombardment, there was no immediate comment from the Israeli military, whose attack on Gaza over the past 14 months have killed at least 44,000 people and wounded 1 lakh people. Israeli launched into ferocious military campaign after an estimated 1,000 people were killed in Israel during attacks led by Palestinian armed group Hamas on October 7, and more than 200 were taken captive. The renewed attacks are taking place as efforts to reach a ceasefire are underway in Egypt. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is heading to Israel this week for talks on a truce deal in Gaza, among others. Sullivan will meet Israeli officials to discuss efforts to reach a hostage release and ceasefire deal in Gaza, the latest developments in Syria, and for discussions about Lebanon and Iran. National Security Council spokesman Sullivan said President Joe Biden and key Democrats have come out against a once broadly bipartisan bill that would create 63 new permanent judgeships now that President-elect Donald Trump would be one to fill 22 of them. The White House said Tuesday that Biden would veto the bill passed unanimously by the Senate this summer and set for a House vote this week. That would add judgeships to the overburdened federal courthouses in the country. Judges across ideological spectrum have warned that staffing shortages have created a major backlash and backlog in the cases. The apparent collapse in support of the legislation that would address the judicial shortfalls show how polarized the political environment around the judiciary have become, and how any measures that would expand the already large imprint that Trump has made on the courts is deemed toxic to Democrat. The bill's Senate champions and outside supporters had hoped that the House would take up the bill before the election, when neither party would know which side would initially benefit from this passage. Democrats are now pointing to House GOP leadership's failure to do so as reasons why they are reversing their support. Under this legislation, we are all promised to give the next 3 unknown presidents a certain number of judges, the New York reported. Because no one can tell me the future, we were all at the equal disadvantage. But for this deal to work, the bill had to be passed before Election Day. House Republicans have said they would have taken up the bill regardless of who won the last month, and what they were unable to vote on it before the election because work needed to be done for it and because of the must-pass legislation that was before Congress before the elections as well. The Californian Republican who spearheaded the legislation, Darrell, said Tuesday that legislation was a durable solution to a national judge shortage and was the product of the work of a national array of stakeholders over a large number of years, ultimately earning the support of unanimous Senate and a strong bipartisan majority in the House. The Biden White House can veto this bill, but it cannot stop a consensus idea whose time has come, he said in a statement to CNN. Judges, including in interviews with CNN, have said that the judiciary faces a staffing crisis that is undermining litigants' right to speed justice. The bill's architects used to recommendations of the Judicial Conference, the policy-making body of the judiciary, to decide which courthouses would get additional judges. All the trials courts under the bill, the judicial understaffing delay, getting emergencies solved acts or judges acts. Fix the Court, a judicial transparency organization that is often on the opposing side of the Republicans on issues concerning court ethics, is calling on the Biden White House to reverse its opposition, with its executive director Gabe Roth calling the veto threat a slap in the face of our overworked federal judges. However, left-leaning Judicial Advocacy Alliance for Justice praised Biden's veto threat, arguing that every chance to protect our courts over the next 4 years must be taken. The Judicial Conference undertook a meticulous analysis to come up with its recommendation, while the bill's author used the feedback from lawmakers to craft the staggered 10-year rollout of the additional judges, so to cover 3 different presidential terms and 5 Congresses. In some of the overburdened courthouses targeted by the legislation, the median criminal case can take years to resolve. Animal rights activists have urged the Nepali government to stop what they've called a appalling bloodbath after they claim thousands of animals were killed as part of a festival held early 5 years that traditionally ends with a mass sacrifice. At least 4,200 buffaloes and thousands of goats and pigeons were killed during a mass sacrifice held in parts of Gandhimai festival in Baryarpur village near the Nepal-India border, according to Humane Society International India (HSI). Participants believe that sacrificing animals in the Gandhimai temple pleases the goddess Gandhimai, who will then grant them wishes or good fortune. Animals are also sacrificed to celebrate the birth of sons. In 2016, Nepal's Supreme Court ordered a gradual phasing out of the practice of animal sacrifice that once saw as many as 500,000 animals killed, but activists say not enough is being done to end it. The mayor of Gandhimai told CNN that it was not true and the government officials had been working with temple authorities to gradually end the practice. That's why sacrifices this year was limited, he added. Animal rights groups have been campaigning to end the slaughter for a decade but have faced resistance from community members who are honoring a custom dating back more than 200 years. Before the festival, Upender Kushwaha, 20 years old, said his family has been participating in the events for generations and would be sacrificing a buffalo this year. It happens only once in 5 years, so we have to do it, and this brings goodwills and it keeps us safe. When asked about the animal rights organization's attempt to stop the practice, Kushwaha said, "This is part of our culture, it's our tradition, and this will never be able to stop." Desperate Syrians are turning to social media for help as they search for their missing loved ones believed to have been held by the Assad regime in secret prisons synonymous with torture and murder. Thousands of prisoners have already been freed from notorious regime jails after rebels toppled longtime dictator Bashar al-Assad, who fled to Russia, but for many families, the search goes on. Hassan Mohammed, date of arrest 2018. If you know any information, you can communicate directly with the families through the comments, said one post on a Facebook page for families of the missing. A poster on another page searched for a doctor who says that it's not been easy and not been seen since the 2013 arrest. At least 2 lakh Syrians are missing, most of whom were kidnapped or detained by the Assad regime, or it facilitates, according to the Syrian Defense. Known as the White House Helmet, the group has urged Moscow to pressure Assad to reveal the location of secret prisons A Syrian woman still searching for her detained husband said government forces told her that he had died but his body was never given to her. Syrians are cheering the fall of longtime dictator Bashar al-Assad as a rebel-linked caretaker prime minister was appointed to oversee the transition of power. Some families are desperately searching for loved ones forcibly disappeared under the Assad regime. Israel said it struck Syria nearly 500 times in just 2 days, hitting most of the country's strategic weapon stockpiles and destroying its naval fleet. The UN Special Envoys for Syria urged Israel to stop striking the country after seizing the demilitarized area of separation between the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights and the rest of Syria. Israel forces have advanced to a village just 16 miles from Damascus, the Syrian activist group said. CNN is unable to verify the claim. Now bringing you the latest updates on today's market trends. Global markets witnessed mixed movement today with North and South American reflecting contrasting trends. In the US, major indices faced downward pressure. The Dow Jones Industrial Average shed 54 points, marking 0.35% decline, while the S&P 500 and Nasdaq followed suit with drops of 0.30% and 0.25% respectively. Notably, the volatility index, that is VIX, climbed 1.27%, suggesting heightened market uncertainty. The Russell 2000, representing smaller cap stocks, experienced a sharper 0.4% dip, underscoring challenges for growth-oriented companies. In Canada, indices like S&P TSX Composite and S&P TSX 60 also declined by 0.4% and 0.4%, mirroring broader regional concerns. In contrast, Latin America market displayed resilience. Brazil's Bovespa surged by 0.8%, buoyed by optimism in commodity sectors. Chile's S&P ISTA also advanced to 0.2%, but Mexico's S&P tumbled 1.5%, the steepest drop in the region, potentially reflecting local economic vulnerabilities. The divergence between regions highlights investor focus on differing macroeconomic conditions, including inflation, interest rate policies, and geopolitical developments. The upward trend in Brazil's signal confidence in the economic outlook, while the US and Canadian downturns suggest caution ahead of key economic data releases later this week. Investors will be watching for further signals to gauge the trajectory of global markets. Commodity markets showed dynamic movement today. The energy prices taking the lead. WTI crude oil rose by 1.2% to $69 per barrel, while Brent crude oil followed closely, gaining 1.1% to reach $73 per barrel. These gains reflect optimism about global energy demands, and market participants monitor potential production cuts and geopolitical developments. Natural gas prices also climbed 3.10% to $3, signaling increased demand in the face of colder seasonal weather in the market. These positive moves in the energy sector suggest robust activity and a focus on balancing supply and demand amid ongoing global economic adjustments. In the metal market, gold posted a modest gain of 0.2%, reaching $2,700 per ounce as investors sought stability amid equity market volatility. Conversely, silver slipped 0.5% to $32, reflecting a divergence in precious metal trends potentially linked to differing industrial and investment demands. Agriculture commodities showed mixed results. Soybeans declined by 0.4% to $9 under pressure from ample supply and reduced export demands. This marks a potential headwind for agricultural producers as trade dynamics evolve. The resilience in energy and gold market reflects their continued appeal as safe havens and essential resources. While volatility in agriculture exists and industrial commodities underscore the sector's sensitivity to global supply chains. Investors will remain cautious, vigilant for updates on macroeconomic indicators to guide future commodity strategies. We'll be right back after a short break. I'm Shweta Simar. Keep watching Millennium Daytime Bulletin.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome back after the break. I'm Shweta Simar from Delhi and you're watching Millennium Daytime Bulletin. Harry Brook has moved above England teammate Joe Root to become #1 test batter in the world rankings. The 25-year-old has overtaken Root after scoring 171 in the first test of England's current tour of New Zealand and following it up with scores of 123 and 55 in the test in Wellington to give him a ranking score of 898. Root, who replaced New Zealand's Kane Williamson at the top of International Cricket Council's ranking in July, is just 1 point behind Brook on 897 and could take back his crown when the third test starts in Hamilton in 14 December. Following the victory in Wellington, Root was full of praise for the Yorkshire batter. Brookie is by far and away the best player in the world at the minute, said Root. He can absorb pressure, he can apply it, he can whack you over your head for 6, he can scoop you over his head for 6, he can smack spin, he can smack seam. Brook, who made his test debut in 2022, had scored 2,280 runs from 38 innings across 23 tests with an average of 61.62. Australia secured a clean sweep in the 3-match one-day international series against India with an 83-run win in Perth. The world champions recovered from 78 4 out 2 post to 298 on 6 out, with all-rounder Annabelle Sutherland striking a masterful 110 from just 95 balls. India then started positively in the pursuit of 299 for victory, reaching 189 on 3 out, with opener Smriti Mandhana hitting a sparkling century of her own. But Mandhana's dismissal for 105 from 109 balls sparked a collapse by 3 wickets for no runs as the world champions turned the screw and India finished 215 all out in 45.1 overs. Spinner Ash Gardner started with 5-3-0 alongside the half-century in 5th wicket stands 96 with Sutherland, who took the Player of the Match and Series award. The Australian innings was set up by opening stand of 58 between youngsters Phoebe and Georgia, and Perry and Beth fell for 4 and 10 to give India a chance of fighting back. But the impressive Sutherland hit 9 fours and 4 sixes in her knock to shift the momentum, with Gardner adding 50 and captain Tahilia McGrath scoring an unbeaten 56. Despite the eventually uncomfortable margin of victory, Australia were uncharacteristically sloppy in the field for 4 dropped catches in India's winning. Harleen Deol was dropped twice as she made 39 in a second wicket stand of 118 with Mandhana, and they also bowled 14 wides. But India could not capitalize on their chances and their middle order wilted under the run rate pressure, with no other batter managing to pass 20. Both teams are back in action quickly, with India facing West Indies in a T20 series starting on Sunday and Australia travelling to New Zealand for an ODI series starting on Wednesday, 18 December. That's all for now. Thank you for tuning in. Stay with us for more updates. Log in to stay updated with the latest news on our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at Millennium News 24. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, that is Millennium News 24. You can watch us on Android and iOS devices as well as on Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and all smart TV platforms. Enjoy entertainment and latest news with us. Download Millennium TV apps, Millennium TV USA for Android and Millennium News on Google. Thank you for being part of Millennium News 24.